Hello to all you people in internet land. Hobby to me is back. That actually sounded like I was doing a voice or impression, but I'm not actually making fun of anybody. That's just me doing a voice. So if anybody's YouTube channel opens with that, I'm sorry. GLM Tech in the GLM Tech series. So the day I'm recording this, it's probably gonna, my top 10 video is probably gonna interrupt what would be a GLM Tech series because I have the two of these to review. But let's take a look at it. So we got the Trimetrix today. So before we even show the spinner, let's just take a look. So they only made 40 of these. Now, first and foremost, let's get this out of the way. I don't know if you can still get it. And it was a pretty, I don't think you can, I'm pretty sure you can't, but because I'm pretty sure they sold out. They were pretty pricey, 160 bucks, but you got to keep in mind when you're doing a smaller run like this, it's just harder to get those costs down. Part of the cost is the volume, right? We were seeing that big boom with spinners, and you were seeing big old discounts on places like Spinetic, and a lot of other spinner providers out there were doing really big discounts, and you could get spinners really cheap. And we're starting to get back into the they're not making as much, and I don't think this is a victim of that. I think they really just wanted to make the 40. But just something to keep in mind. If you only made one, this would cost a lot more than if you made 40, than if you made 400, than if you made 4,000. Just the way it goes. So, but same thing as before. GLM Tech, Zhongun, 303 stainless steel, machine finish. Set up the card right there to look pretty. What else we got in there? We got an extra set of buttons and a sticker. So essentially the same foam, same tin, same setup. At least for me it was, and again, I got this secondhand. I got too good of a deal to pass up. I got to be honest, I don't even know if I want to say how good of a deal it was, but sometimes you just see those deals, and like whether it's in the spinner budget or not, you just go for it. So we got some other buttons here. Let's take them out. We may put them on. I'm not sure which buttons I like more. I'm liking the other ones that I've got on it, but I'm pretty sure these are the ones you'll see on it a lot, and what ships with it. So, and then let's open up, and again, same deal with the pouch. Really nice little velvety, smooth, suede-y kind of pouch. Carver's Customs getting in there again. Octo pouch, what are you doing? This is the custom size I had to make. It's 3 inches wide. It's just a little bigger than their mini, but about a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch smaller than their large. So, and it's perfect for a spinner like this. Ooh, look at you. You know what? We shouldn't. We should have Carver's Customs have this one out because we might need to talk about him when we talk about this. So look at these buttons. I don't know. I like those. They go up, they go down, they go up, they go down, but they provide a lot of grip. They're pretty big. So first thing you notice with this thing is that she is significantly heavier. Let's take a look. That's why I wanted to get this guy out. Let's just get it out of the way. Look at the size difference here. Boom. You got very similar size or shaped arms. There are some differences in the arms and in the machining, right? Like if you look at the patterns, they kind of go in the opposite directions, right? The flatter, wide side is on the curved part, where the point is on the flat side, right? So they kind of go in opposite directions. They've got just a slightly different style where this doesn't quite touch the next step, where these all touch the next step, but then this one touches the step. Like just some little subtle things in there. But yeah, so a lot bigger. So if you remember, this guy was 55 grams. Let's weigh it. Let's do it. Let's move you out of the way. Turn you on. So you should be able to still see it because we're in pretty much a similar camera angle. Because I'm reviewing them back to back. 102.6 grams. So dang near double the weight. And it feels like it. It feels heavy. She feels pretty heavy. Pretty hefty little spinner. But I gotta say, for a heavy spinner, she performs. She is a fidgeter. Now, with any heavy spinner, you're going to have, especially a spinner like this, where you're not playing a lot of games, like the compo form. Let's just pull it out. We got it sitting next to us. That's what she said. The compo form kind of may or may not play some games with the weight, right? Like it's a 107 gram, I think, spinner, but with the buttons, with the mass near the middle, you don't have that fidgetability issues that you do with heavy spinners. But this guy is a heavy spinner. It's not playing those games, and it feels heavy, but it still maintains a lot of fidgetability. So I'm gonna put it out there and draw some comparisons to. We got a lot of special guests and cameos here to the Wusaw Boss. Now the Wusaw Boss is readily available. It's about 30 bucks cheaper, and it's got a lot of rounding and kind of takes that comfort to the next step. But if you like the Wusa Boss, you'll probably like this, and if you like this, you'll like the Wusa Boss. So we'll just leave that at that. But this isn't the boss video. This is the Trimetrix video. So let's take a look at the finishing on this. Now, the same sort of thing as with the previous version. The machining's pretty solid, and I think as overall is a better standard. One thing I guess for me that's a little bit of a disappointment is seeing, you know, the press fit bearing in there. They're going with like a standard style retention ring. You're also hiding some of the machine issues under the buttons where it's just the machining's not quite as consistent. But the fact that it's not the press fit to me with something like this, with what's going on, I mean, this is nice that you're able to change the bearings really quickly and easily. So you know, that's nice for most people. I know a lot of people prefer that, but for me with something like this, sometimes that press fit gives the spinner just a different characteristic and a different quality, and I think I would have appreciated that in this personally. But that's more personal choice. But with the thickness of the body, you have the room to do that, and you have the weight. That said, if you look, see how the cap stands up a little bit? You have buttons with a little bit of a lip, a little bit of a recess, so it kind of covers that up. Both of those buttons do this. Let's switch the buttons since we're switching them out. We'll put the other buttons on it. You guys want to watch me fumble with buttons? It's like being a teenager all over again. What? What does that even mean? Some of you will get it. All right, let's throw these back on there. So you can see it hugs real close to the body and covers it up. So I can appreciate that. We can get behind that. We can support that. Now these buttons give a lot of grip too. It's a different kind of grip. They feel pretty aggressive, but they don't hurt your hands or your fingers or anything like that. And they feel a little smaller. So if you like wider buttons, because this kind of curves up from the outside, right, the surface that you're playing with is smaller, where this is going to be much wider. So fidgetability wise, pretty off the chain for a heavy spinner, man. It's easy to pull. It's easy to flick. Getting your finger in there, it fits in that spot pretty well. So the flicks are really good. Despite the weight, I can get in there and I can jam on it mid spin. I can interrupt the spin and so if I push it out, it's spinning away from me. I can get my finger in there and reverse the spin without really any sort of an issue. So we're also seeing, again, we showed it in the Geometrix video, banging up that nail a bit. So but again, it's not hurting me. There isn't the hotspot issues. We've got the same sort of like all those edges, right? Can just shave off my nail. They're just that acute of an edge. They're that well machined, but there's no burr, right? It's the burr that really gets you. I don't think I've really mentioned that, or I'm kind of realizing it out loud for the first time with you, but it feels smooth rubbing it like this and even like this on my finger pad, but on something harder like a nail, you can just peel it off. So but there's no burr, so there's no like cutting. So it's nice. One thing that's sort of interesting, and it took me a while to kind of notice this. I shouldn't say take me a while, but I mean I've only had it for a little over a day. But there's a little bit of a swell right there that you can kind of feel when you're rubbing your finger, which I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. It kind of feels nice in some respects, but honestly, I don't notice it or feel it when I'm fidgeting with it. But if I'm rubbing my finger across here, you can feel that, and I kind of wish it wasn't there. I'll be honest. It's not pronounced enough to feel intentional, so it almost feels like a mistake, if that makes sense. Spin time wise, a pretty spin time demon. I'm gonna have to throw my hybrid ceramic in there. That's getting me some good spin times right now, and see what kind of spin time she gets. But we're getting this will be the same as with the Geometrix video as well. I'm gonna have to put the spin time down below because I saved it on my work computer and I don't have that with me. But I'm pretty sure we were looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 minutes and change on a table spin, and around 10 minutes, 30 seconds, something like that on a vertical spin. So we're getting really, really good spin times on this guy. And again, I think throwing in a bearing that's been broken in and known to perform, just so I can get some comparable results, I think she has the potential to do some damage when it comes to spin time. But she's got good balance, and that's what you really need on a vertical spin, because you don't want to be fighting your own weight. So when you just give it a real gentle spin like that, it doesn't want to have to fight lifting its own weight, right? If you don't have that perfect balance, it spends a lot of energy bringing that momentum up, and then it gains a lot of it when it spins back around fast, but then it's got to get it over the hurdle again. But see that? Look at her just... When you get good balance, that's where you get those really good slow spins, and then just stops in place. That's balance, yo. So really well machined. So these guys know what they're doing over at Geometrix, and after handling these spinners, I gotta say I'm a fan. It's going to be hard not to want to pick up everything they do, feeling the quality that we get in this. And again, with this guy in particular at a reasonable price. Now this again is pretty pricey, and I kind of looked the other way at it, and even handling this in my hand at 160 feels pretty expensive, but I think it's definitely worth it. And again, considering the 1 of 40 makes it even more so. But great spinner. Oh, and this one does some really cool things. Let's see if I can get the spin effect with this. Yeah, see those rings? See how it's kind of this ring in particular, as I turn it kind of sweeps down over here, and then as I turn it up, so you get the different, yeah, see, and then those two rings cross each other. Really nice looking. Takes it into a whole new level, spinning this thing in the light. So this thing is really fun to switch its axis through the light. And look at all the little different angles cross each other. Something else that's interesting is it really, and you see this with a lot of spinners when they're spinning, they almost look like they're all on one flat plane. Now clearly this has steps coming up, right? But when you spin it, it looks flat. It's sort of like the chakra, right? When you spin the chakra, the domes almost look like they're flat. They don't look like they're bumped up until you get on its profile and you can really see in there. And those sort of optical illusions in person, I think, are pretty fun to observe and check out. But the pattern on this guy is just gorgeous. So if you get the chance, I can definitely recommend picking these up. So that comes down to, does Hobby Timmy recommend it for you? And Hobby Timmy does at 160. Again, I think it's a little pricey. It's a little heavy, so if you don't like heavy spinners, you're probably not going to like this. It doesn't feel quite as heavy as it is, but it definitely feels like a heavy spinner. You can fidget with it better than a lot of heavier spinners out there, so I think it's a good combination of weight distribution, well machined, soft edges, good chamfers, really good grooves and cutouts in here that just let you play with it and maneuver that mass around. But at the end of the day, it's still a heavy spinner. It's one that, again, if it gets outside of that prime fidgetable range, which I think stops right around 85 grams. I think 55 to 85 is pretty good, and then anything over that, you start to feel the weight. Now, depending, again, on some other factors, you can kind of get around that and play some games and make some exceptions. But when you're essentially dealing with 100 grams of spinner, that's it starts to get a little fatiguing. But this guy, I don't really feel like I have issues getting it up to speed. So definitely on the recommend list. I would look for them on, again, I think you're going to have to look for them on the secondary market, so they may be hard to find, but they're beautiful little spinners. Gotta say I'm impressed. I didn't think I wouldn't be, but it's nice to have it in your hand and have that kind of stuff validated. So I've been looking at it, wanted to pick it up, found the chance, got the opportunity, overspent on my budget for the month, but what are you going to do? So, the Trimetrix by GLM Tec. Kisses, y'all.